13 News at 6 o'clock starts now. In just the last week, we've seen 5 students taken into police custody for making online threats against schools all across central Indiana.
The latest happening just today with 2 minors in Marion accused of threatening to shoot up schools there. But we've also seen Warren Central, Perry Meridian, and Anderson High School with similar threats and student arrests in recent days.
Now, when these threats happen, we often see the schools go into a lockdown as they investigate. And with the state's new cell phone ban in classrooms, it's not as easy for parents to call in and check out and find out if their student is safe.
So our Chase Howell went to Perry Meridian High School today, where that scenario played out in real time.
This is the latest threat from an Instagram user with the name Warren Shooter. The post shows a countdown with emojis illustrating a man holding a gun.
We have to send our kids to school, and then we don't know if they're going to make it home. That's not okay.
A parent of a student at Perry Meridian High School says she waited 90 minutes for an update after the school went to a secure status following a threat made online. The school district says staff responded within a timely manner with keeping students safe. And they continue to write that in most cases, students have possession of their phones or they're put away in their classroom on an off position.
The idea is now that the school takes that responsibility for the notification process.
Senator Jeff Rods authored a bill that's been signed into law restricting students' access to their phones while in the classroom. I asked the senator whether or not the law should have guidelines built into it for schools to follow, and he says that's a little more complicated.
There's an exception in there for emergency cases. And honestly, the schools, from my perspective and generally in the General Assembly, we try not to get too far into the weeds on how to actually do things, because then people start thinking, well, I didn't do it the appropriate way and now we have problems.
You want some more?
And while Amy Bolin feeds her youngest kids, she hopes when they go to school, they'll be more worried about their grades than guns.
I want everyone to be safe and things like this to not happen, but we all pray for the best.
So that was our Chase Howell reporting tonight at 6. We can confirm tonight that all the people taken into custody for these 4 separate investigations were in fact students.
Tonight at 6, a woman found dead just hours after she was reported missing. And right now, IMPD is combing through the crime scene looking for answers.
Our Karen Campbell's been at that scene for hours today. It's near Raymond Street and South Sherman Drive, and that's where police right now are still actively investigating.
IMPD tells us 5 hours into this investigation, they are still working to determine how that woman died. Her body found in a wooded area on Wagner Lane, just steps away from where police say she lived here in this Granville cooperative neighborhood. Now, off camera, the president of that association tells me the victim just moved in about a week ago and that she had 2 children. Now, we know she was reported missing by family this morning, family that had not heard from her since this weekend.
This is a densely populated area. There are children getting on and off school buses here. There's people leaving for work. Children are playing out here as the weather's still nice, and to encounter something of disturbing nature of that instance, it's heartbreaking.
IMPD says this appears to be an isolated incident. They have spoken with neighbors here in this area, working to learn if they heard something or if they saw anything, or even if they have surveillance video on their homes that can help them solve this case. Karen Campbell, 13 News.
Sunshine and 70s right now all across central Indiana, and it is going to be a mild evening. We drop into the 60s once the sun goes down. Maybe a jacket or sweatshirt at the bus stop. A mild morning will go from 53 at 8 a.m. into the 60s by 10 a.m. and highs tomorrow afternoon warmer than what we had today by about 5 degrees. That will put us in the mid 80s. Tracking a warm up this week and tracking the return of some wildfire smoke that could get a little thicker come Wednesday and Thursday. We will keep you updated on if we have any changes to our air quality this week.
All right, Angela, thanks so much. Tonight at 6, we're getting our first look at the FAA's initial report about that plane crash that killed 4 people in Anderson.
The agency tells us the plane crashed due to unknown circumstances. Now, we do know that the plane took off from Fort Dodge, Iowa, heading east to Indiana, when it then crashed in the field near the Anderson Municipal Airport. 4 people on board, ranging in age from 68 to 19.
Among them, 36-year-old Braden Hicks, who was a private flight instructor from Iowa. Today we talked with his wife. She told us she and their 5-year-old son are heartbroken by this loss.
We talked about on Friday, Daddy traded his plane wings for angel wings. There's just something about seeing the clouds from the top side that I know he'll never get tired of.
Megan went on to tell us that Braden and the other 3 on board were flying to Indy Air Sales to look at buying a new airplane before that crash. In less than an hour, the Indianapolis City County Council will decide how to move forward after a sexual harassment scandal that's plagued the Hogsett administration this past month.
Now there are calls for the council to create a committee looking into how the city handles these kinds of allegations. Our Emily Longnecker joins us live from the City County building right now, where the council will vote on forming that committee later tonight. Emily?
Yeah, Ann and Scott, if the City County Council votes to create this investigative committee, it would be made up of 7 council members, 5 Democrats, 2 Republicans, who would look at the city's HR policies and decide what, if anything, needs to change. The committee would also be tasked for hiring an outside law firm to look into how the city has handled past and current investigations. Right now, there are 6 investigations taking place, a 7th that led to the firing of a staff administrator last week for violating the city's sexual harassment policy. That's according to an email sent to staff last week from the mayor. The committee would also look at recent measures implemented by the mayor and decide if those measures need to be taken before the full City County Council and voted on as resolutions. Measures like requiring annual sexual harassment training for all employees, not just supervisors. Lauren Roberts called creating a committee a move in the right direction. Roberts came forward to tell her story to 13 News last month, saying she was sexually harassed by her boss, Thomas Cook, while working on the Hogsett campaign in 2015. Roberts says she reported what happened to the mayor 2 years later after she'd left the campaign. Now, Hogsett has said there was an investigation into Roberts' claims. Roberts says she was never contacted by the city about any investigation.
And I think regardless of the mayor and who's in charge and who's in that seat, this is clearly a systemic problem that needs a systemic solution.
Now, I recently spoke with one of the counselors who drafted the proposal calling for this investigative committee. Democratic City County Councilor Allie Brown told me that she doesn't think that if this committee is created that they would engage in a quick investigation, but she says that councilors hope it would be a thorough investigation where city employees in the future could feel comfortable coming forward if they experienced any kind of harassment. The vote from council set to take place in about an hour. The meeting starting at 7. Our own Lauren Kostick will be inside that meeting. She'll have a full report tonight on 13 News at 11. Ann, Scott?
All right, Emily Longnecker reporting live for us tonight downtown at the CCB. Thank you so much. We're going to let you know there is another big proposal that's up for discussion tonight. More than $200 million to address road and bridge repairs all across the city of Indianapolis.
This proposal would allocate $225 million in next year's operating budget to tackle those repairs. The councilor introducing it, Josh Bain, says the city needs an additional $450 million a year just to keep up with the current infrastructure needs.
After the proposal is introduced tonight, it heads to the Public Works Committee for a hearing and then to the full council for a final vote. That would be near the end of this month.